child just disappearing, not being monitored, not being supervised in that moment, you know, but in this sort of huge sort of homestead, remote part of Australia, a sheep station apparently. And we're going to look at, you know, what the timeline supposedly was, where everybody was at the time. Now, there's a very complicated, now Gus is only 4, so he's been missing 2 weeks. The police have said they can't see that he could still be alive. But the thing is, where is he? So there's been, you know, a lot of searching gone on for Gus. And just over the last few days, the army have been in there and searched, but they've just wound up that search. They haven't found anything, nada, zilch. You know, so where is he? I mean, he's got to be somewhere, hasn't he? So it's quite a complicated sort of familial relationship in the sense of Gus's mum, that's his mum there, she lives on the sheep station apparently with the GMA. And the GMA was born a man and transitioned to a woman many years ago, apparently, and lives on that sheep station. I think they have a partner as well. And then the father, Gus's father, does not, although Gus is supposedly, this is what they're saying anyway in the media, that they are still together. Gus's mum and dad are still together, but Gus's dad does not live there because he doesn't get on with the GMA. And also he didn't think it was a safe place for children. They have another child as well, younger than Gus, another boy who also lives there. So this is the sort of family dynamics. And apparently at the time when Gus went missing, his mum was at the sheep part of the sheep station. I mean, it's a huge property. So she was not there at the house. The GMA was looking after Gus and the youngest, his sibling. And apparently Gus was there 1 minute playing in sand and then he was gone. I mean, it couldn't be possible that he's buried under the sand, could it? I mean, I know that sounds totally ridiculous, but because you think that would obviously, surely that'd be the first place he'd dig up the sand or whatever. But it just occurred to me, because I can't see that he could have gone far. Now, the police are still saying up to this point, there's no evidence of any foul play. They believe that Gus literally wandered off. This is what the police are saying. So we have to take that face value until we hear any different, don't we? You know, the police are saying he wandered off and there's no, so we have to take that face value until we find out any different, don't we? Hi JT. Yes, I think the other child should be removed until you know, it's, well, I don't know. Should they be removed? Because then they go into foster care, wouldn't they? And that's not very nice either. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is here. Yeah. Anyway. At the end of the day, this little one is missing. Nobody knows where he is. He's been missing 2 weeks, so he's not looking after himself for 2 weeks, that's for sure. So if he has wandered off, he's got, you know, it sounds awful, but he will be deceased. He has to be. So if he's been taken, he could possibly still be alive somewhere. Anyway, let's have a look at... So what is this? 7 News have come out with this timeline. They say they've learnt more about the actual events on that. It was a Saturday evening. Let's have a look. Let's see what they've got to say.
with exclusive new details about the night 4-year-old Gus Lamont vanished on his family's outback property.
Lauren Rose is live at Yunta. And Lauren, we're learning more about what family members were doing when he disappeared.
We are, Will, and while it helps paint a picture of that tragic night, sadly, there's still no sign of the 4-year-old. 7 News has been able to establish a timeline starting at 5 p.m. on Saturday, September 27, when Gus was last seen playing in sand out the front of the homestead. We now know Gus's grandma was watching his little brother Ronnie inside, while his mum and another grandparent were 10 kilometres away looking after the station's sheep. Gus was discovered missing at 5:30 and the police were called 3 hours later. Today, 80 members of the Australian Defence Force have split into groups of 20 to widen the search area even further.
Now, yeah, the army have been called in. Now, I just don't know how you search an area like that, because Gus is so tiny. Now, it's scrubland, isn't it? It's not forest, so it should be easier, you would think. And they've sent the drone over, haven't they, which they're still checking all the drone footage, because there's got to be something. Anyway, apparently it's boiling hot in the day, it's freezing cold at night. You know, there's no way this little boy has survived 2 weeks if he is out there. Just no way.
They've been walking up to 25 kilometres a day in hot and harsh conditions. It's now been 18 days since Gus wandered off. In Australia, his disappearance has been compared to the high-profile missing persons cases of Azaria Chamberlain and William Tyrrell, while overseas media has drawn parallels of their own.
Now, yeah, they bring Madeleine McCann into it as well. So, yeah, those two cases they talked about, like that was the baby supposedly taken by a dingo. And Lindsay Chamberlain, she was reviled for years, wasn't she? Saying that she had not told the truth, that she, in fact, had killed her own baby. But then it was revealed many years later that the dingo, there was some evidence, wasn't there, that the dingo, did they find the clothes in a dingo in a cave or something? I can't remember how it got resolved, but anyway, she was exonerated. But of course, in a lot of people's eyes, she still isn't. Then there was, of course, William Tyrrell. He was the boy in the Spider-Man pajamas. I have covered his case on my channel before. And you know, interestingly enough, just the other day, some Spider-Man pajamas were found close by to where William went missing, but they weren't his. I just wonder, but you just think, God, you know, had somebody planted them there? Just like, you know, people do things like for reasons that you cannot account for. But it just seems strange that some Spider-Man pajamas, as I say, not his, no way they were his Spider-Man pajamas, but you know, why would there be Spider-Man pajamas just lying around in the, apparently they were found by the new owners of a property or something. Anyway, so yeah, just a little sort of strange thing. But you know, people do things like that, don't they? I mean, people are weird. Sorry, but they are. You know, why would they find Spider-Man pajamas just out there in the bushes or whatever? Sorry. Hey, don't. So that just a little aside. So as I say, they definitely weren't his pajamas. So, you know, the authorities have said that. But just ironic that these Spider-Man pajamas were found. So then, yeah, so the dingo baby case, William Tyrrell, it's been compared to, and of course Madeleine McCann. So it's, of course, it's reached over the pond. I mean, I'm talking about it, call it over the pond. That's really from America, isn't it? It's like an international story now, like Madeleine McCann's was. And of course, at the moment, the stalking trial is taking place of the fake Polish Julia Wendell, who claimed to be Madeleine McCann, but has been proven definitively she's not, which most of us knew anyway. that trial is going on of the stalking of Kate and Jerry McCann. But as far as what happened to Madeleine McCann, we have no idea, no further on 17 years later. So I hope for this family's sake, that's not going to happen here. Could you imagine 17 years go by? Nothing.
While overseas media has drawn parallels of their own.
We have a missing persons case with ourselves, with family, a young girl called Madeleine McCann, who many years ago went missing in Portugal. And people still talk about it, and we still try and theorise as to exactly what happened.
Yeah, so
tomorrow the search will start and finish earlier as temperatures here are set to soar.
It reached GB News, Eamon. He doesn't look very well, Eamon Holmes, I don't think. Hope he's okay. Definitely doesn't seem very well, does he? But anyway, so yeah, they talked about it on GB News. They had the Australian reporter on there. And they're comparing it to the Madeleine McCann case. Any missing child, I suppose, is going to attract attention. But, children do go missing every day. I think the reason this case has attracted so much attention is just so mysterious. It reminds me more of the Ben Needham case. Some people will know about Ben Needham. He was a British boy. He disappeared in Greece. And he was playing outside. Little toddler, remote property, and disappeared. And, his mum is still desperately searching for answers. So his case has received a lot of attention, but not as much attention as Madeleine McCann's case, must say. But still, it has, and they've been, over the years, many people, again, same with Madeleine McCann, have come forward saying they are Ben, and asking for DNA tests. And we found out in the Madeleine McCann trial that 12 other people have come forward and said that they are Madeleine McCann. So not only Julia Fruit Loop Wendell, and don't forget Julia Wendell, she pretended to be two other missing children before she decided to pretend to be Madeleine. So she's, I don't know who she's going to pretend to be now, perhaps Shergar. Sorry, that's a distasteful joke. But, it's like, you can't believe that people would do that. Would claim to be a missing person. I mean, maybe some of them genuinely wonder if they are that person. There's always that possibility. And the guy, the detective in the trial was saying, they do sometimes do DNA tests. It depends on circumstances. Anyway. That's that. So what I'm saying is, imagine this family, if this goes on and on and on, then 17 years later, people are going to be coming forward and saying, oh, I'm Gus Lamont. I remember the day I was snatched. This is sort of thing they say, anyone with blonde hair and blue eyes will be coming forward and saying they're Gus Lamont. It's just awful to think. They won't. I hope they get a resolution, and I know it's horrible. I hope they get a happy resolution, mostly, but some resolution surely will be better than nothing.
Into the mid-30s by the afternoon. It will resume on Friday. Such is the determination to find closure for Gus's family.
We begin with exclusive new details about the night 4-year-old Gus Lamont vanished on his family's outback property.
Lauren Rose is live at Yunta. And Lauren, we're learning more about what family members were doing.
Okay, so that actual newscast, so it has been Friday now in Australia. Nothing's been found. They're packing up to go, or they have packed up to go. It's finished, that particular search. Now, that doesn't mean to say they might not go out again at some point. I hope they do. I just hope they find him one way or another. It's important, isn't it, for the family? Hey, Deborah, JT. Yeah, yeah, but it's again, it's as far as William Tyrrell's concerned, it took a long time, and that's years ago that happened. See how long it's taken. Yeah, I've done a video about William Tyrrell, Deborah. I've done it. You'll find it on my channel. So I've been into all that. But, no one's been charged yet. That's what we always have to remember. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We all have our opinions, but we don't know all the facts. We never know everything that the police know, and we have to remember that. But we have our views and our opinions, but we can't know for sure until someone's actually charged and brought to book for it. Okay, now the other interesting thing that I just wanted to show you is, and you may know, let me see. Oh, first I'll play this, which is to say that the search has ended. So very sadly, the search has ended. But anyway, let's play.
Ben, thank you. This week's renewed search for 4-year-old Gus Lamont, who vanished in outback South Australia, is about to wrap up almost 3 weeks since he was last seen. Live now to Lauren Rose, who is in Yunta. Lauren, the Army is about to head back to Adelaide.
That's right, Tash, and they're really devastated to be leaving here without having found 4-year-old Gus Lamont. You can only imagine how devastated his family must be, having to say goodbye to these search teams without any answers. Tomorrow marks...
I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? But it does look, you would think a drone, if Gus's little body, even though he's only little, surely a drone would spot him, or, because it's quite open, isn't it? It's, as I say, it's not all covered by trees and everything, and be very difficult to search. It's very open. So you would think that if he was there, he would be quite easy to spot. With that many people covering that much ground and the drones.
3 weeks since Gus's grandma last saw him, since anyone last saw him. He was playing on a pile of sand out the front of their house. He was left unsupervised, and next minute he was gone. He simply vanished on the family's vast expansive outback sheep station. Since then, what we've seen is the largest search in South Australia's history. 95 square kilometres have been meticulously scoured, many more hundreds of square kilometres by air. Still though, searchers don't even know which direction Gus wandered off in. He was wearing...
my feelings, I don't know if it was foul play or not, and let's presume that it wasn't, and he wandered off. I don't think he'd be far away. How can a little boy, 4-year-old, unless somebody's taken him away, but surely the GMA would have heard a car in that, you hear everything in those. We've got some of my chatters who live on similar properties, and they say you can hear cars and things. If a car had come up and taken Gus, it would have been heard 100% by the GMA. She was only in the house. You must get used to sounds in the country of what's, and then suddenly you hear a different sound. I mean, all of us get used to the sounds around our properties, don't we? Even in mine, where, I live in a more built up, I'm not in a remote area, but sounds. If you hear something that you think, oh, hang on a minute, I've not heard that before, what's that? You notice. So in a remote place like that, I'm sure the GMA would have noticed anyone coming and abducting Gus. Personally, that's what I think. And I don't believe that little boy will have gone far away. I know, toddlers can run and can move quick, but I just don't believe it. I think he'd be roundabout. If he's had an accident, he'd be roundabout. I can't believe that's why I was saying, you think, God, have they checked the actual sand pit or whatever it is? Because you just think, how can he have gone that far unless he was taken by an animal? But then other people are saying, oh no, there's no dingoes there, there's no dogs, there's no this, there's no that. So, and for no clothes, nothing to be found, only that one footprint, which seems even weirder to me. Where's the other footprints? It's a complete mystery, and that's why it's captured everyone's attention, because it is such a total mystery with no clues at the moment, or no clues that we know about. So again, one of the police officers, she did say, we are working on other avenues as well. So, they'll be looking into everything. So you've got the physical search for Gus's body now, unfortunately, but also they'll be doing other inquiries into the family dynamics and all that kind of thing. It's all going on. It's just, we're not privileged to that information.
A sun hat, a long sleeve t-shirt, pants, boots, none of that has been found. It truly is a baffling missing persons case, and just a real tragedy for everyone involved. It's not the outcome that anyone wanted, Tash.
Absolutely not. Lauren, Rosie Nyunter, thank you so much.
Yeah, look at that. Gosh, I don't believe, maybe I'm wrong. It won't be the first time, but can't imagine that little boy would have run that far away. Just don't believe it. If he's there, he's close by, I think.
In a pile of sand out the front of their house, he was left unsupervised, and next minute he was gone. He simply vanished on the family's vast, expansive outback sheep station. Since then, what we've seen is the largest search in South Australia's history. 95 square kilometres have been meticulous.
Right, Celia, that's it. I'm going to ban you from the channel if you carry on. So I showed the comments on there. So that's it. I'm not even going to mention it again. You say what you like in chat, but I will not mention this again. I don't like being called a liar. I don't like being accused of removing comments when I haven't. You shouldn't be so sensitive. It's only a YouTube channel, for God's sake. There's millions of YouTube channels out there. If it doesn't happen to you on any others, then fine, go and watch them. You're accusing me, aren't you, really, of removing your comments? So that's final thing that I'm going to say on this.
Scoured many more hundreds of square kilometres by air. Still, though, searchers don't even know which direction Gus wandered off in. He was wearing a sun hat, a long sleeve t-shirt, pants, boots. None of that has been found. It truly is a baffling missing persons case, and just a real tragedy for everyone involved. It's not the outcome that anyone wanted, Tash.
Absolutely not. Lauren, Rosie Nyunter, thank you so much.
So that's where we are with it. Unfortunately, the search has been called off for now. Now, whether they're going to start it again next week, I don't know. I hope so. Because they must be quite convinced that he is there somewhere for them to send the army out and to, they must be convinced he is there, do you think? And have they taken dogs out? I don't know if they've taken dogs out. I think they maybe have. But, yeah, it's a complete mystery. Now, the other thing, though, that I wanted to, I don't know if you remember, I covered a case on my channel. Let's see. Do you remember the case of Phoebe Bishop? So this was Australia as well, wasn't it? The Phoebe Bishop. This young girl disappeared. So, we know that people don't disappear into thin air, don't we? But it feels like it sometimes. Anyway, Phoebe, isn't she 19? I think she was when she disappeared. She's very young anyway. Just disappeared. Her flatmate, this is her with her mum. Her flatmates, her housemates, a couple, I haven't put a picture of them up. I don't think we need to look at them. They said that they dropped her off at the airport. She was supposed to be going to the airport and flying off to visit her boyfriend in another part of Australia. Anyway, there was no sign of her there. There was no CCTV of her getting out of their car or anything. Anyway, and again, after quite a long search, because there was no, it's not impossible without a body, is it, to prove murder or foul play, but it obviously makes it easier with a body. And so the police were searching and searching, and they did find, unfortunately, Phoebe was deceased, and her housemates were arrested for murder and I think, and tampering with the court, because the authorities said they thought Phoebe's body had been moved at least once and maybe more times, as the investigation was going on. Anyway, so the alleged perpetrators of the murder of Paul Phoebe are in prison, and we probably won't hear any more about that case now until the court case comes up, because one thing I have learned about Australian court cases is it's not like in America where they release bits of evidence. Well, in some states in America, they don't in all states in America. Everything's hush hush. That's what we found from the Erin Patterson trial. Till the actual trial happens, we don't find out any more details, do we? So all we know is that Phoebe sadly was taken from this world. Her roommates, a couple, are charged with her murder and are in prison awaiting trial. Then, so Phoebe's mother Phoebe Bishop's mum has reached out to Gus's family, so she knows exactly what it's like. She knows exactly what it's like to be at the centre of all that. This was another case that sort of went off the, went over the frontiers, if you like, wasn't kept just to news in Australia, attracted attention. For whatever reason, it's difficult to say why some cases attract attention all over the world and other cases don't. Some cases don't even attract much attention in the area that we so, even in the area that they went missing, sometimes they don't attract attention. Who knows where it is? I do think that when cases are mysterious, like, when you've got an obvious thing like, the housemates saying they dropped her off at the airport, and clearly they hadn't dropped her off at the airport, though the police said that they thought that Phoebe was in that. There was CCTV of them driving to the airport and driving back home again, and the authorities thought that poor Phoebe probably was in that car, but deceased, in the boot or something. But they definitely had, they thought they're like those thickos who think they're clever, had sort of, thought, oh, well, we drive to the airport and our phones will show that we've been to the airport and we've come back. But, forgetting that they're going to get caught on CCTV, and Phoebe was not in the car, or she couldn't be seen in the car. So they think, the authorities think she was probably in the boot at that time. She was deceased, and they were just trying to make it look as if they dropped her off at the airport. But all the CCTV, she never turned up at the airport. Her suitcase wasn't at the airport. She didn't check in, all those kind of things. So, for the weeks there it was that Phoebe was missing, her mum very sadly got to know what it was like to be in the centre of one of these social media, or it's not social media storm, it's a media storm, because it's not only the social media, it's the mainstream media. Daily Mail is the mainstream media. On the social media, we get most of our information from the mainstream media. Do you know what I mean? So, they also social media storm, but it's not social media storm. It's a media storm. They pick up on the cases and we pick up on what they say. So she was at the centre of it all, and thing is, while there's no news, that's when rumours start, isn't it? So, if somebody goes missing and they're found within a couple of days, there's not normally that many conspiracy theories arise. But if somebody goes missing, they're not found for a few weeks or a few years, or many years. That's when the conspiracy theories start, isn't it? So anyway, apparently Phoebe's mum, Kylie Johnson, has warned Gus's parents and grandparents of the pain and public scrutiny that follows tragedy, and offered them all the help she can. Now, the other thing, though, we have to remember is in the beginning, because I think Gus's family have tried very hard to be private, haven't they? They obviously are private people. They live in a very sort of remote place. They don't want all this attention. Some people do like media attention. We've seen the difference with Daniel Martel and Jack and Lily's disappearance. He seems to quite enjoy giving interviews. Other people don't, and that doesn't, just because Daniel's giving interviews, I'm not saying that means he's guilty of anything. I'm just saying everybody's different. Remember, we're all snowflakes. We're all different and unique. And then also you've got this conundrum in the beginning, because you don't want the attention really, but you need the attention because you're looking for your missing loved one. So it's sometimes cases are solved by people who take an interest on the social media, etc. Look at Gabby Petito. I mean, that's a prime example. Would Gabby Petito's body ever have been found if it wasn't for those van life people, the YouTube family that were passing by the van and saw Brian Laundrie's van parked up in the national park? I mean, these national parks are huge, massive. And the police didn't even know Gabby was dead then, never mind looking for a body. And then it turns out, because of the social media hype or media hype, this family thinking, oh, we went through there and we saw that van that had Florida plates or whatever, and realised it was actually Brian Laundrie's van. And when the police went to where could then identify where the van had been parked up, because they noticed it particularly because they were from the same place, and they thought, oh, there's a van from our neck of the woods, and they were going to slow down and say hello to whoever was in it, but they couldn't see anybody in it. So whether Brian was hiding in the back or what, but so they didn't get, but that's why they took and noticed the van, and because they had a dash cam in the car, in their van, they got they knew it was Brian's van because of the number plate, etc. Well, it was Gabby's van, actually. So the police went to that place where that van was parked, made a search, and found Gabby Petito's body. Now, would they have found it without? So you do, even though, you wouldn't think, sometimes it can be something that you really wouldn't think. So that can lead to a clue. You can be talking to somebody who you think is miles away from where this has happened, but they might know somebody who is near them and say, oh, I saw a little boy, blah, 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 blah. You just don't know. So you do need you need publicity until someone is found. But unfortunately, you have to manage that, because then you're also going to get, the weirdos like that making the AI photos of Little Gus being kidnapped. You're going to get them as well. It's like, but it's almost, I don't know what the answer is to it, but you need the publicity because you want to find your missing loved one, not only with Gus, with any case. Wherever it is in the world, but you don't want it to become like a circus, as unfortunately often it does. I have seen people control it really well. I thought with Victoria Taylor in the UK, that was a girl who went missing, who very sadly was eventually found in the river and had unalived herself because of, I don't want to go into it. I know her family, they tried to keep it as private as possible, but also with asking for information. I think they did it really well. And also, I do think the police, certainly in the UK, they've learned from the Nicola Bulley case how to sort of try and keep things You can't, if you give out no information, if you don't give out any information, people just make it up anyway. So you've got to try and give out what information you can, even if it's just to come out and say there is no information. You know, it's like, because the press, the media, the mainstream media, they're looking for something to say about it. So you give them something to say, it's better than making it up. Anyway, so she has written, apparently, a gut-wrenching letter of support to the family of missing 4-year-old Gus. And the body of her daughter, Phoebe, was found in Queensland's Goodnight Scrub National Park on June the 6th, 22 days after she vanished on her way to Bundaberg Airport. Her housemates, James Wood and Tanika Bromley, are now in jail, awaiting trial for the 17, oh my God. The 17-year-old's alleged murder after they gave her a lift to the airport on May the 15th. So there she is, poor Phoebe and her mum. And you remember her sister spoke at the memorial. Sister is very like her. Sister's having to, having to keep, what's the word, having to face the fact that her sister has been murdered. And she spoke at the memorial, and it was very heart-wrenching. She's very similar to Phoebe as well. So she made what she's done is she's made a post on social media. Again, see, you use social media for, that's the thing with social media, you can't just use it for things you want to use it for and then say people shouldn't follow you or shouldn't comment when you don't want it. You know, social media is here to stay. We just have to accept it. But yeah, you know, you just hope you're never in that position. I mean, it must be absolutely awful. So she said, I hope that Gus's family sees this. My advice is to protect your mental health and your ability to function. Stay off social media and the news. Keep looking, keep your hopes alive. That's Gus. Every time his little face pops up, bless him. That's Gus's mum and dad, who, as I say, are together but live separately. So the grieving mum, who came under intense scrutiny during the hunt for Phoebe, revealed how public tragedy can expose you to cruel online trolls. Please know that the media will maul you with requests. And that's the mainstream media. The community will demand answers, and complete strangers will make judgments about your parenting and life choices, she wrote. Let them hold your space. If you don't want to talk to them, you don't have to. In a post to social media, she urged Gus's loved ones to find strength in one another. Keep your head high, she stressed. Hold your loved ones closer than ever before and know that you are not alone. Good people still exist. Shut out all the lies and propaganda. I'm so thankful for my sister Crystal, who protected me from these blows. So during the search for her daughter, Miss Johnson endured a heartless backlash after details emerged about Phoebe's living conditions. Now, yeah, because so what had happened was she wasn't living with her mum, was she? She'd gone to live with these two horrible people. One of them, I think the woman, wasn't she some social worker or something? But anyway, so she'd been staying with her accused killers in a filthy house in Gingin, which was strewn with rubbish and the remains of 17 dead dogs. Now, you know, so perhaps something happened, you know. The thing is, families argue, you know, and her mum will have come in for a lot of stick. Because it would be like, well, how could you let her live like that or whatever? But a 17-year-old, if they decide to move out and go and live with somebody else, there is nothing you can do about it. And anyone who thinks their 17-year-old would never do that, and, you know, you just don't know what your 17-year-old might do. You know, anyone who's had teenagers and gone through that pain, there it is. You know, not only because I think when we were teenagers, when you're a teenager, you just don't even think about it. You don't even consider what you're doing to your parents, you know, because nobody matters really except you and your friends. That's just how it is for teenagers. It's a very strange time. And I don't know what happened here. I have no idea. But, you know, if Phoebe moved out, she moved out for a reason that was important to her. And her mum, you don't know what their relationship is. And as I say, anyone who's got a perfect teenager, well, good for you. But, you know, I can't say that happened to me. So, and this was the home. I mean, it was horrible. But how is that her fault? How is that the mum's fault that that house was a pigsty? You know, how is that the mum's fault? So, adding to the family's anguish, Miss Johnson's sister, Kaz, appeared on national TV to question why Phoebe had left her family home. And she said the teen had texted her about a family rift. Well, the other thing about that text is we don't actually know that that was even Phoebe who sent that text. You know, because we know from other cases, don't we, that quite often happens. That people, you know, quite often texts get sent that aren't actually from that person. So, yeah, I remember that now. We covered that. That was the interview by Phoebe's mum's sister. Yeah, said, you know, she was casting shade on her own sister. You know, the thing is, you just don't know what happens. Sometimes teenagers, you just can't tell them what to do. You know, like you just can't. Hi, Lily. It's just the way it is, you know. So Gus. So this, of course, is happening with the Gus Lamont family because they've got unconventional living arrangements. I don't know what conventional living arrangements are these days. You know, who's got a normal family? Have you got a normal family? I don't think I have. You know what? But I don't know what a normal family is. Do you know, like, because every family has got skeletons in its cupboard, and believe me, you know, even families you think are like, oh God, their family looks so perfect and so happy, they're not necessarily. You know, because you just don't know what happens behind closed doors. So the preschooler lived at the family homestead with his mother, Jess Lamont, and the child's two grandmothers, Shannon and Josie Murray. Josie transitioned several years ago and now identifies as female and lives with a female then, by the sound of it. Gus's parents also have a 1-year-old son, Ronnie, but live 2 hours apart from each other because of a family dispute. So this is it. As soon as you say, you know, family dispute, unconventional living arrangements or whatever, you know, people are going to jump on that. So this GMAR who transitioned is the biological GMAR. So it sounds like there's another GMAR as well. And the mum, the dad, who don't live together but are still together. And then poor little Gus, and then he's got a younger brother who's just more or less a baby, I think, or not more than 10 months old or whatever. So, yeah, I suppose it is unconventional. But what's conventional? And I think, you know, like you just said, Blue, normal families aren't normal. You know, so how often do you know, it's like if you look at Shannon Watts and Chris Watts, you know, the perfect family, you know, the husband, wife, 2 little girls, the woman's pregnant, Shannon was pregnant with Nico, all seemed on the outside because it was all played out on social media, wasn't it? Because Shannon was very into her social media. It turns out he's been having an affair. He's, you know, and he murders not only his wife and his unborn son, but the 2 girls as well. You know, there you go. That's what happens to normal families sometimes. You just don't know. Quite often things happen and people say, oh, I had no idea they seemed like such a lovely family. And they say, oh, I can't believe that he's done that or she's done that or whatever. Just don't know. There is no conventional family. We might like to think there is, or, certainly, sometimes people try and tell us there is, but there's not. We have to accept families of all shapes and sizes and, made up of all sorts of, be it single parents, two same-sex parents. They can be good or bad. It's not about whether they're unconventional or not. Now, it could be that this does end up being relevant. I'm not saying that whatever disputes have gone on in this family aren't relevant. I'm just saying at the moment we don't know, and we can't think, oh yeah, there must be something strange because it's an unconventional family. Because conventional families do terrible things. So the family have remained fiercely private through the search, which has simply fueled wild speculation and online conspiracy theories. And, this is, I just think they can't win really, because you've got parents of missing children that go out and talk a lot, like Daniel Martel, his step parent. And then, of course, Malaya, the mother, she doesn't talk at all. So she gets into trouble for that. People say, oh, why is she not saying anything? I just think you can't win. Like when there's a mystery. So you've just got to do what you think. If you're ever unfortunate, God, you hope to God you're never in that position. But you can't let the media make you make interviews. And then, if you don't want to do an interview, don't do an interview. But you probably are going to come in for, criticism. Whatever you do, whether you make interviews or you don't make interviews, whatever you do, you're going to come into, it's like, so you might as well just do your own thing, isn't it? So in her letter to the Lamonts, she extended an open offer of support and solidarity, saying she's just an inbox away for anyone who needs someone who truly understands the pain of losing a child in the public eye. The wannabe detectives and the untruths will vilify you and affect your own mental stability, all while you're just trying to survive and keep hope alive. And don't forget, there's been some weird people who have actually made AI images of Gus being abducted and put in a car. Just there's something wrong with these people. Our porch light will be on for Gus and every other missing person for as long as we live, sending love and healing from our rural family to yours. So more than 100 team members, including the police, SA Police, that's South Australian Police, ADF members, God, I hate these initials. I think SES is Search Emergency Services or something like that. Continued the search today in hot, harsh conditions, but no new leads were uncovered. And the South Australia Police have confirmed there is nothing to suggest foul play, but they are obligated to investigate every possibility. So, God, look at the state of that place. Oh, my God. This was, I remember when we had, we saw the video of the place. Poor Phoebe. How did she end up there? My God. I don't know. But anyway, very sad. So that's her advice to the Lamonts. Phoebe's mum's advice. Stay off social media. But the thing is, it's not only social media. So it's hard to avoid the news completely, isn't it? So it doesn't matter if they never go on YouTube or they never go on Instagram or never go on Facebook. This is on the national news as well. So how do you avoid it? How do you? I don't know. But, it's not going to change now, is it? I don't know. It's a very It's a very difficult situation for anyone to be in. And not only you're sort of suffering because, you know, you don't know what's happened to your loved one, and suffering even more because people are accusing you of God knows what before they know anything. Now, there's everything's possible, and it always seems strange, doesn't it, when someone just especially a child, just disappears like that. I really don't believe that boy has gone far, one way or another. Anyway.